first and foremost, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. What an intro. When you brought in youngest of 8 children, I was like, what?
Yeah, it is. I had to catch my breath. I mean, it felt like I was watching Cops. It's like, hey guys, sub.
Thank you.
Whew. And that's only a small snippet, which leads me to my, this is the one question I have. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Because you've done a lot. So it's weird. Like when we say research is like the professional, like, hey, I research you. That's the professional way of like, hey, I've been stalking you online.
Basically.
So if you received an email notification that says, hey, you appeared in 2 LinkedIn searches this week. I'm one of those searches. There you go. Face to a name.
Awesome.
All right. So you've accomplished a lot. And we were talking a little bit before, and you talked about retiring from the military last year, but you have accomplished many things in the military and even since retirement. How do you describe what you do to someone meeting you for the first time?
Oh my gosh. I have to contain myself because I want to say I'm living the life I designed. And then of course people would look at me like I'm crazy. But I think my most authentic answer would really have to include that I'm on a mission to share a wellness mission or a wellness vision, excuse me. That's my mission. I really want to bring awareness to our own well-being and prioritizing self and what that can do to change your life. Like that is just where my passion is pulling me. So what I do though, when it comes down to brass tacks, leadership and personal development, that's really what I do. Yeah.
No, I love it. That's pretty good. And I was really proud of myself for coming up with that question.
That's a great question.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that.
It's a hard one.
I was talking to my wife. I'm like, I was kind of explaining the background and that you're friends with our mutual friend Susan. And I was like, I'm gonna ask this question, get it started. And my wife's like, that's pretty good, And it's that leads me to a follow up. As someone who came in your bio, I talked about the reason why you joined the Air Force at age 18. As someone who came into the military without a plan, like many of us, because I think a lot of people in the military joined at age 18 or 19. But what was it about the military environment that turned you into someone with a clear vision and goal in mind?
I think the fact that I got a second chance. And when I say that, I mean, I came in completely naive. I remember when my mom sent me off to MEPS and said, whatever you do, don't pick military police. And I was like, whatever. So I go to MEPS and I come back and she's like, what job did you get? I said, security forces. And she goes, what is that? I said, what's the first line of defense for the base, Mom? And she goes, okay, do you hear yourself? So it didn't start off great. But I think my second chance was given to me when I had the opportunity to cross train because I knew that security forces did not fit my temperament for the long haul. But when they gave me a chance to go into medical, optometry specific, I felt like a new lease on life. And then everything fell into place. I got to take all the things I loved about the Air Force with me, leave all the things that didn't fit, and start anew. And that's really when I started that process. But to answer your specific question, it was when I stepped into PME. When I became an Airman Leadership School and NCOA instructor, that was really when like the floodgates opened to the possibilities of what I could do, what I loved. That was really when it happened.
That's awesome. No, I love it. So like during that time, you talked about like, we're venturing into your time as PME. Did you have an epiphany or that aha moment you consider as a catalyst for understanding how to best express yourself? Express yourself.
I had an aha moment. I don't know if this is what please tell me if this isn't what you're asking, but
just go for it.
Yeah, I did. This is crazy because, you're in training and you're getting ready to step in front of the class for the first time. And my trainer, if he watches this, Rich, will understand because he was there beside me. But I was so unbelievably nervous because I had this lesson plan, and ironically enough, it was stress management that I was teaching. And everything's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. It was so scary. But at the same exact time, I felt like I was home. And I was the heart palpitations, the nerves, the sweating, but then I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be doing this. And so I think that was, and I paid attention to that feeling because that has really helped me pay more attention to my instincts and intuition as I moved forward in my career. I lost a little bit later on. We'll might talk about that, but yeah, I think that was my big aha moment of like, whoa, this, you can simultaneously be terrified and feel like you're self-actualizing at the same time. So, yeah.
On that, it just made me think of what is something you would tell your younger self after that first big rejection or that first big where you felt like you failed at something?
Oh my goodness. So I feel like being a parent is almost like you get to do that question in real life. Yeah, because I talk to my kids all the time. I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I have to filter the way this is presented, but I just don't feel like failure exists. I think it's something we've made up so that we could feel less than and trying to fit into societal expectations. I just don't think it is. I think there is a journey. And the journey takes you where you're supposed to go. And you're going to have to figure things out along the way. And when I say figure things out, that's what most of us call failure. And that's what I would tell my younger self is, that first time you feel like you're failing, just pay attention to what you're supposed to be learning. And likely you're going to leapfrog over to what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Man, that's great. It's almost like Quantum Leap. It's one of my favorite. I love Quantum Leap. I've been watching the new series, but you get to kind of with kids. I feel like you get to right some of your past wrongs. Mm-hmm. My daughter's 11, so similar, close in age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You talked about designing a life earlier. I forget like what part you threw it in. I don't know if it was as we started recording or before we started recording. What impact is waiting for a particular time in our lives to start designing the life we desire have on someone's mental and emotional health? And I thought about this as we started talking, just because I opened up about some of the things I've been struggling with mentally, where I've been holding myself back because of analysis paralysis or whatever, right? But always trying to wait for that perfect moment. But I'm gonna ask that question again because what impact is waiting for a particular time in our lives to start designing the life we desire have on someone's mental and emotional health?
Well, I think that by doing that, we are delaying an inevitable calling. And it could possibly, I won't say likely, it could possibly spiral someone into something very negative, because there's this, and this is exactly what I'm glad you brought that up, because this is exactly what I said before when I said, maybe we'll talk about that. I had spent probably the last 7 years of my career, denying myself pretty much everything. I didn't take care of myself. I neglected my well-being. I put everyone and everything ahead of me because I felt like that was my badge of honor. That was how I showed I was worth it. I was worthy. And I really didn't want to stop and answer the question, Mary, what do you even want? What is it that you want? Because everybody else had and I don't mean everybody else in a specific way. I mean, the system had a plan laid out for me. I was a, chief by 20, and boy, I had 10 years left, right? So it was an opportunity for me. Now I look back on it. And again, when I don't kind of take those absolutes of negatives, I look back on my severe anxiety and depression as the greatest gift of my life, because it was my body telling me to take a knee because I wouldn't listen. And when I did that, I started the work. And I have to tell you, I had no idea where that inner work path would take me. I for sure didn't think it would take me to retirement at 23 years.
Yeah.
But I was just, what you're asking is, I just delayed what I probably should have started working on a decade ago, And so that's what the impact could be, is that you could further neglect yourself and keep yourself hidden from your greatest talents and from your just your greatness in general.
So what's like something specific you're like, man, I wish I would have did this 5 years ago?
So I know you're probably going to be like, all right, this conversation's over. I don't say that anymore. And the reason is I feel it's important to clarify that because I love my journey. I just everything about my journey. So if I were to tell someone else, what would you, don't do this, try this. I would say I would really try to sit in the quiet. My goodness, is life noisy. And I don't want to speak for anyone else. I can speak for myself in my career, being a superintendent, handling, all of the things we do. It was just so noisy and I never felt like I could catch up. And I think what people need to do and what I would advise someone else is stop. Just stop. Just when you unplug. Like stop putting your identity and your worth in these external factors. Know that you're enough just being who you are. Know that whatever's meant to be is going to come your way. Stop running yourself into the ground. Take a knee often and preemptively, not when you're burnt out.
I've struggled with that and that's been a hard lesson I learned actually probably within the past 7 years was waiting to take a knee or waiting till I'm feeling burnt out versus being, almost like prehab, right? Like not, it's like stretching before you work out or warming up. Mm-hmm. You talked about just kind of, taking a knee and avoiding burnout and making sure like we're taking care of ourselves. In a perfect world, if this process were just, snap your fingers and easy, what would you say that process in a perfect world, how easy would that process be, or what would that process look like?
Well, in a perfect world, our employer would create an infrastructure for that to be part of the culture. That it was just not an afterthought, but part of what we do.
Yeah.
If you look at, I'll take the Marine Corps, for example, fitness is what they do. Like it's no question. You're going to get together and you're going to go work out. So if we did the same thing, the same concept if the employers would understand that actually will pay dividends in the long run, and they created an infrastructure to support that is in a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world with the bottom line, metrics, do more. And so really, I will tell you, like, I worked as the chief of resilience. Okay. I did everything I could in my power to try to get this message out. But I think there was a moment in that job where I realized, oh my goodness, the message isn't, hey, leaders. I mean, it is, don't get me wrong, but like, I think the impact isn't going to be from, hey, leaders, make sure you create this infrastructure, because I'm not sure the system will ever support that. Rather, the message is to each individual person, set your clear boundaries, know who you are, know what you're willing to sacrifice. And that will be a grassroots movement from the bottom up. And then we'll start to see some change, because if people band together and say, hey, we're not going to tolerate this, not everything is mission critical, because then nothing is. And so that's my perfect world. But right now, given the realism, the reality that we're in, I would say everybody has to look individually, These
are great answers. And I feel like these are some like tough, in-depth questions, but you have amazing responses and insight. So it's good.
Thanks. I did a lot of soul searching the last 2 years. Thank you.
I want to switch to some kind of like lighter topics and go a different route.
Yeah.
You do a lot, and it's something I'm constantly trying to evolve on. And I purposely use the word evolve instead of saying get better at, or the phrase get better. Mm-hmm. But when working on a new project, what method of organizing and planning do you use?
I feel attacked.
No, so I can look at you. But actually, like just your whole overall boards and stuff in the back. Yeah. Like I just, without meeting you, I just know that you're organized. It's very clear. Like I see, I can already picture like what your planner looks like. And
it's right here.
Let me see. Let's take a picture of it. That'd be like a good photo.
I should show you, but okay. So ask me the question again.
When working on a new project, what method of organizing and planning do you use? Like, so I started using bullet journal, getting tongue-tied, Bujo, bullet journaling. Okay. And still working on it, but it's helped me get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like kind of time blocking and all that. But anyway, what do you got?
Okay, so there's one thing that I took from the military, and I love it, and I feel like I can't ever do without it, and that is Outlook. Like, I have and it's the exact setup. I swear to you, it's the exact setup. I have all my PSTs. Like, it's the thing that I use the most.
Do you color like different meetings and stuff?
100%. I do. I have, and look, this is, and then after it's in my online Outlook, I put it in my actual.
I knew book. So even like the not the hooks, but the things that hold it together. I just knew it'd be like those round things. But anyway,
it's
expected,
legit.
As expected. So that's good. I love it.
You profiled me. Nice.
Yeah. Get out of my head. No, that's great. I love that. So I referenced Susan earlier. Her and I have another friend named Amy. Actually, Amy Long. I'll go ahead and give her a shout out.
I know her.
Yeah. Love her too. Very shy, very reserved. No, she's feisty. I love her for that. But I think it's been a while since I talked to her. But she referenced that before, like how you get so used to using Outlook, where it's kind of like a hard thing to get away from once you are no longer active duty military.
Yeah.
And I don't, we can say separate or retire, but you never really, get to.
Yeah. Well, especially if you, I would say the 20 years of my career, I've had Outlook.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where I find it, because now I have both my Gmails in there and my Outlook. And so I can just boom, one stop, and it's just makes things so easy. Awesome. And I started using Calendly for meetings. Yep. And I actually just signed up because I'm creating digital courses. And so I'm like brand new at this whole process. So I've been taking a course on that, and so I just step by step, and I try not to bite too much off at once, but I'm so excited out here that like I have to tell myself to calm down sometimes. Like,
that's good. I love your passionate energy. Like, it's very obvious. It's very genuine. Like, I can feel the good vibes. I can see like the glow in your face. It's refreshing and inspiring, right? And
Thank you.
Even, I told you some of the things before we started recording. It's motivating me because like this is what I want. Like, where it's just I can't help it, where I'm just oozing with, I don't feel bottlenecked or constrained.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, man, I'm just ready to go. You talked about Calendly and some of the other things. So I've actually just paid for a writing class. Have you seen the master class? Yeah. So so I'm investing in myself in 2023, and I just paid to take a professional writing class. And afterwards, I'll tell you who it's with.
I think I can guess, but
chat. We'll talk after.
Okay. We'll talk after.
I think it's going to surprise some people, and I'll give you a clue. So I'm also an actor, and it's and it is an actor.
Okay, not my guess.
Yeah, and I just did a play. Actually, I just did a play about 2 months ago. I just did and I love it because it's it really, man, it just
lights you up.
Yeah, it lights me up.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you. All right. So one kind of standard question I do ask on my podcast is, and I'm going to take it a different route, but typically the question I would ask is if there was a movie made about your life, who I'm sorry, we're going to come back to that.
Okay.
Usually ask the question, when you think of a movie image that depicts leadership, who or what comes to mind? For you, I want to ask the question, when you think of a movie image that demonstrates a healthy state of mind, who or what comes to mind?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
A healthy state of mind. Oh, I'd have to say Rocky.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to say Rocky, and specifically Rocky 4, because it's the best one.
Wow.
Okay. I know. We can get into a debate there. I know.
I like Rocky 3, but Rocky, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
They're all great.
They're all great. They're all great.
Okay. Let's not go down that road because maybe they're not all great. But Rocky 4, I think that there is this. It's not just grit. It's just this. It is grit, but it's also when you know what you have to do. And you're being pulled towards it, and if you don't go towards that, you will regret it for the rest of your life. That is the inner voice, and that is the inner mentality that we all should be listening to, and a lot of us are not. And Rocky just portrays that so clearly in that movie. And then when he gets there, and listen, side note secret, Every single PT test I ever took in the Air Force was with the Rocky IV soundtrack. Okay.
No way. Wow.
Yes. And so, yeah, the No Way Out specifically got me around the bend, but
that's good.
But no, I think that's the movie. I love the mentality. Yeah.
My run song, I listen to a lot of Taylor Swift.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, a lot of great.
In the words of my 13-year-old daughter, you're basic, because that's what she told me. So
I mentioned Lacey Alexander before we started recording, and she was telling me a joke that her daughter says, and it was something. It's the same joke that I say about people when I don't like them, where I'm just like put off. I'm like, oh, they peaked in high school, right? Like, and it's. But she told me her 13-year-old daughter, or however, says the same thing, and I'm like, that's hilarious. That's
that's
great,
funny.
Great minds think alike.
That's funny.
So if there was a movie made about your life, what would the name of your movie be? And who would play you? Who would play your husband?
Mm-hmm.
Since I just talked about Lacey, who would play Lacey Alexander? And I have a recommendation. So
Lacey looks so much like one of my sisters, but she's not an actress. Okay, so the title. Let me go to the who would play. So I have two options because I feel like they look like me.
Okay.
I've been told they look like me, similarly. One would be Heather Graham. I think it's,
yes, yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the big eyes. And then the other one is Anna Faris. I get that one a lot too.
I could see that. She has a podcast now. Heather, yeah, but those are great. Yeah, I could see both of those.
So either one of them. I'd like to see Anna in a more serious role, but my movie would not be. I think it would be like a comedy drama, because I don't even know about the drama, but I like to have fun. I think life is, supposed to be lived. So live your life. There's the title.
Perfect. Live your life. That's going to be the name of this podcast episode. Who would play Lacey? And I have a recommendation if you don't have one.
Please give me your recommendation.
You think she'd be offended if I said Salma Hayek?
No,
and nothing like. I mean, I guess they kind of sort of look alike, but I just get like this vibrant energy from her.
Totally.
But
or maybe Uma Thurman with black hair. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
A
couple last questions. What
Sure.
are three things? And I stole this from another podcast. What are three things you were grateful for?
First thing I'm grateful for is my awakening.
Okay.
Second thing I'm grateful for is my health. And the third thing I'm grateful for is my love. The love I have surrounding me every single day. That comes from my family. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Last question. If there was a giant billboard with your message on it for everyone to see, and let's just pretend that everyone's stuck in rush hour traffic, everyone has to see this billboard on the highway or interstate. So it has your, and everyone knows it's not Heather Graham coming out with a new movie. Everyone knows it's Mary Polanco, but it has your message on it for the world to see. What would you want that message to say?
That message would say, you first. And then underneath it would say, everything you want to give to the outside world must be given to yourself first.
Perfect. I love it. Hey, if people want to check out your content and to find out more about you, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn has a lot of it. LinkedIn is a great way to connect, but I also have a YouTube channel called Live Well. And so I have a lot of guests on that channel, as well as, spot checks where we can talk about designing your life. So my Live Well channel on YouTube and Instagram as well is Mary Polanco Live Well.
Perfect. And I'm going to link all this stuff in the video and then just on my podcast show notes and all that. So I'll make sure.
Great.
One bonus stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to give a shout out, since I mentioned both of them multiple times, to Lacey Alexander and Susan Mace. Lacey I just met within the past 6 months. Susan Mace I've known for years and who I revere. She's a phenomenal leader in person. Who's someone you want to give a positive shout out to?
Oh my gosh. Do I have to just pick one?
Pick three.
Pick three. Oh, yay. Okay. I want to give a shout out to Todd Simmons. Todd Simmons he epitomizes making a bigger table instead of building a bigger wall. And I appreciate him to the depths as I transition out of the military. My second shout out would have to be to David Satchel. Satch? His mama calls him Satch, so you got to call him Satch. He, again, has been a wonderful friend and mentor along this new journey of mine. And then my third goes to Sarah Sparks, retired chief from the Air Force Academy. She's been mentor, best friend, sister for 10 years, and I love her dearly.
Man, that's great. Yeah, thank you for that. Those are so I'm going to tag them in this episode. Satch, I know. I think he has a Facebook group or something. I remember seeing all his stuff, and of course, Todd Simmons. I've seen at conferences and all that. So, and Susan Sparks, but that's great.
Yeah.
Are you a guest on a lot of podcasts?
I've been on a few. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was checking out some of your content. I've seen I saw your YouTube videos, and that's where I saw you is because you just did something with Lacey, right? Within the past couple months, I think. I
want to say I did. Was I? She was on my channel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because I follow her on social media and stuff, and and then and like in good ways, I've just seen your name, come across various things I'm a part of. But hey, thanks so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This was great. Really great questions. Like very thought-provoking questions. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.